James Robinson, the 200th inductee in the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. Again, this is Sweet Lou, Jeff Luzader with Steve Crawl at the Keystone at the Crossing for the Red Carpet Show. James, really appreciate your time. Let's go over a little bit. You're graduated from Wood High School in Indianapolis and then Indiana University at Kokomo. Don't want to get into all your career, but how'd you get started in umpiring?
Well, as Steve just said, we won't get into the stories that we may tell later on tonight. But,
right.
It was just something that I always felt like I wanted to do. It just it was a part of the game that I thought I could add to it.
Just, I mean, extra money and still being part of the game.
No, the money was okay, but you know now it's a whole lot more. But it was just an idea that I could help to the game itself.
Started umpiring high school baseball in 1980, 35 years, 33 sectionals, 24 regionals, 14 semi-states, and 6 state championships. You've umpired in the North-South All-Star Game 6 times, voted umpire of the year 5 times. I don't know what else. What else you could get there? Is anything? Of course, in 1994, you were elected to the National Federation Baseball Rules Committee, and of course, I know you've been doing education, going over some of the rules for the IHSBCA. How did that all come about?
Well, you know, it's just one day sitting at work and the phone rang, and I was asked to be on the rules committee, and it was like, you know, we talking nationally or we talking locally or what? And it was found out it was for the national committee, and it was just a great honor to be part of that. And it was in Kansas City at the time, and so for 4 years I sit on the rules committee, and people used to joke about it all the time that basically what it was is that if they had a question about the rules, they could ask me because I was the person who made the rules, and we really weren't, but it was a great honor to be a part of that.
And of course, on your umpire, that's on the umpiring side, but on being the referee, of course, you've done basketball and then football. 6 years as Division II and 7 years in the Mid-American Conference. You became a replay official for the MAC Conference and then moved on to the Big Ten. You were a replay official in the national championship game in 2014 at the Rose Bowl between Florida State and Auburn. Again, right place at the right time. How did you get that gig?
Well, you know, that's the one of the things I guess it's kind of hard for me to talk about sports because it all involves, you know, not only basketball, baseball, and football as well, and they all three have been able to be able to benefit myself in that respect. There, like you said, you know, I was on the replay team in the national championship game in 2014 when Florida State played Auburn. It just being in the right place at the right time. It's just a great honor. Has any of it, you know, helpful one to the other, and there's no doubt about it. It has been. But I think being an umpire has individual. You know that you go out there and people see what you can do, and when the game's over with, it's like, okay, it's done. They don't remember who the umpire was, and that's the good part about it. So.
James, we've talked before, and you live in Kokomo and have for a long time, and you said that you like to travel. You know, if that means going way up into the region or South Bend, Fort Wayne, or down, because they know you and your reputation. That gives you a chance to work as a state finals, and you certainly worked a lot of those.
Yeah,
across the board, all your sports.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I agree that I have. The one thing about it that you get to travel, you get to see different people, and the fact that people get to see you. And one of the stories that is out there now that people will laugh at, or used to laugh at, and that's doing the plate. and that I didn't do the plate as often as I did when I was younger, but I always said I did work at the plate many a years, and I just felt that that it gives me an opportunity for the coaches to see, as well as the pitchers and so forth. And one of the good things that I felt that I was considered a pitcher's umpire.
But you earned the right to be the guy behind the plate. If it was a two-man crew, that you were behind the plate more often than not.
Yes, yes, you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. And I volunteered to be behind the plate. Some people just don't want to be a plate umpire, but I did, and a lot of some of those games were double headers, and I'd rather work the first game, which you're going to get the number one pitcher, and so in that respect, there it helped tremendously.
What do you, James? Whether it's baseball or basketball or football, those are your three sports. You have to have control of the game, don't you? Or it can get out of control. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, you got to have control of the game itself, and I think once the players as well as the fans and the coaches can see this, then you have an understanding that you're not going to put up with any stuff, but you're going to allow them to play, allow them to be aggressive as much as possible.
You had said before that you don't want to really remember who you are. I mean, you want to get a reputation that you're fair and you get to advance, but it's not like, well, we remember that guy because he did us bad.
Well,
you don't want to think of you in that way.
And that's a very good point there, because you want the players as well as the coaches and everybody else to say when the game's over with, they don't remember who was official.
Because you were fair to both sides.
It had nothing to do. One of the coaches I've always enjoyed working for is always says he loved for me to work in Kokomo, and they would come and play Kokomo because they felt that they would get a fair shake. There wasn't no home cooking situation there, and that was, to me, was the greatest compliment that has been paid to me. So I appreciate that.
Now, as far as football, James, you were the white hat guy most of your career and doing football.
Yes, I was. When I first started doing football, it was kind of like you just show up at the high school and then it just boom, you just pick a spot or pick a hat or whatever. And finally, after a couple of years, I decided that we wanted to establish ourselves as a group. So no one wanted to be the referee. I stepped up and took the referee job, and I was a referee from that point on. Fortunately, I was a referee in high school at state finals, and then I did the MAC as well as in the Big Ten as well.
My last question here regarding the football. You moved to Mid-America and then up to the Big Ten. It's the same game, right? But as an official, working the Big Ten compared to the MAC, where there's more pressure to make the calls as an official, did you feel more pressure working the Big Ten than you did those others? Or the game the same? Or whatever?
The game was the same. Once the ball was kicked, it was the same. But yes, working the Michigan State Ohio State game. I mean, Michigan Ohio State, 110,000 people. Versus in the MAC were 10,000. It was a whole, yes, it was different. You prepare for it differently. You mentally prepare, but once it's kicked, just another game.
Last question. What'd you feel like when the phone rang, getting the call?
As everyone else has said, it was a great honor. Did I believe that I could do this? No. I mean, who would ever thought that I would be in a Hall of Fame? And would be thought of in those regards. I mean, as versus players that hits the ball, throw the ball, or field the ball, that people can remember who you are or what you did. And so, no, it was a tremendous. It was great. I appreciate it. looking forward to it, Tony.
Well, we look forward to your speech, and as far as I'm concerned, if anybody deserves it, what you've given back to the association, to the IHSA, and to the both the game of football, basketball, and baseball, you deserve it. So thanks a lot for your time.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.